I'm Denise.
I'm Katie.
I've been friends with Katie for over 20 years.
I cannot believe it's been 20 years.
This is
88 Chat,
where we talk about a really random program.
Advisory, disclaimer, this is just our opinion. Please don't take it as fact. Don't send hate to anybody. We want to love everybody. And welcome to 88 Chats. I know a couple weeks ago we said that we'll probably check in at the end of the Johnny Depp case, but we decided to do a check in midway because it is a 6-week case, and that is just too long. And so we also have a special guest today. Katie, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, I can introduce our guest. It's my husband, Warren.
It's me.
So Warren's here to discuss the case of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and its defamation case. Right now, we are at the 3-week mark of the case. The trial is for 6 weeks, so we're midway, so it's halftime. So, Warren, I know you've been following the case more than I have. So if you want to give us a summary of what's been going on.
I don't think I've been watching any of it in order as it should be, as much as highlights back and forth. No matter what you end up watching, though, it all ends up being goofy questions from Amber Heard's lawyers. Like that's what all of I just feel like I'm watching a court grab at straws for something that isn't there. Like it's hard to watch, but it's kind of easy too.
So for those of you who don't know, the case is basically a defamation case upon the op-ed that was published in the Washington Post by Amber Heard. And the trial's been very interesting. I've seen and heard a lot. So far the testimony there has been so many interviews, depositions that people were able to watch, including the crazy one where I think it's his manager or staff manager at one of his places that drove off after giving testimony.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm done. I'm done with this case.
I missed that part. I did see part of that testimony, but I missed that part.
Yeah, the guy at the end, he vapes on the live Zoom call.
Perfect.
And while still on a Zoom call with the judge in the court, starts driving his car. He's in the car and starts driving away at the end. And the judge kind of just goes, okay, well, I think we're going to wrap it up here. And then they immediately go to a break. And she just had this look on her face of like, what did I just watch? Is this even legal?
That's great.
She said this was a first. That's what the judge was like. Well, this was a first.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. And he's like, that guy was like, I'm really trying to live my life. I don't really care about these people. I just want to get my job done, and that's it. I'm only speaking because I got subpoenaed. Of course, I would not be testifying in this case because I got subpoenaed to do this. I was like, that's how you know the guy's telling the truth on whatever he says, because he doesn't really give a damn about this whole thing.
Yeah, because that was the same guy that after a couple questions said, like, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast in the morning, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like threw everything he said out the window as soon as he said that too.
The way of it is like he still give context because he goes talking about how like when he's speaking to somebody, he has to look them in the eyes. And if you're looking at somebody in the eyes, you're gonna see the stuff around the face. So you can see bruises, or if anything, if it's swelling, you would see that. He said, I did not see any of that because I always look people in the eye when I'm talking. So I'm like, okay. But most of all, like all the people they had put on stand, the forensic psychologists and the muffins. They made me on TikTok about that.
I didn't see that part either.
Yeah, so apparently the other team, Amber Heard's team, decided to go on questioning about, as I've been doing so far, miscellaneous stuff. And one of the miscellaneous things was the muffins. The forensic psychologist, before she met up with Amber, her husband brought in muffins. He always brings in muffins, especially if there's a high profile client. Of course, she's not allowed to divulge who it is, but just that it was a VIP. They thought there was this was a breach, thinking that the muffins were for her instead of a general thing that her husband does for her clients. It's just muffins.
I'm like, it's strong evidence.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the makeup evidence that's been getting called out.
Yeah, that's
And-
probably my favorite.
Well, did you not see, that was one of my favorites, but my favorite one is from the ACLU, if you have not watched that. Because basically the ACLU just blew Amber's case out of the water. Completely out of the water. Because saying the whole thing is saying things that isn't true. And that their argument is that they didn't say it was him. But throughout emails and chats, it says it was about him. And they're married. And in that case, when they were shopping around and publishing the story, it violated the NDA that was part of the marriage agreement. So in this certain instances where he could go back to court for family and go saying that hold her in contempt for that part. Because there is evidence that says you violated the NDA.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that my favorite part is then they also told people that she did not donate her $3.1 something million that she pledged.
Yep.
She only paid 1/3 of that, or less than 1/3. She was like 1.3 million, and since 2019 she hasn't paid a thing, and they're calling her out for that.
And some of the thing about them bringing in Elon Musk was that supposedly her contact with him was having Elon handle some of that. So he was emailing with them saying things like, oh no, it wasn't a lump sum. It was supposed to be paid out over 10 years. So she's just not done yet, or some ridiculous thing like that.
Like that.
Yeah, so there is like the pledge, of course, like if this is kind of what I find like I think the reason why the ACLU is turning against her is because she didn't pay up.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Even though ACLU is a good nonprofit organization to help people who are in a situation where the law is on the side when it should be, because they've done a lot of great things, but in this case they didn't do their fact checking, because they were the ones that helped Amber with the whole article, and so they kind of screwed themselves over in that instance.
Shot themselves in the foot a little bit.
Yes. So with that, like I said, that's my favorite part, because it basically blows her defense out of the water, because during this whole time you knew that it was about him, and according to their statements while married, that they were both toxic. They really say it was both toxic, even though one was actually the abuser versus the other one. But they agree, I'm guessing because Johnny is very what's the word I'm saying? Gallant, or not gallant, but kind of want to be like a gentleman-ish person.
Chivalrous.
Didn't want. Yes, thank you. Chivalry. A little chivalrous, and didn't want to put the idea that she was the abuser in the media until now. Until she says,
yeah, it seems like he was protecting himself, protecting her, like both.
Yeah. So until she decided to mess with his income and movies, then like, no, I'm not dealing with this shit.
His name completely.
Yeah. So and then he's like, okay, you were asked for this. I'm gonna send you in 2 different places. One in Virginia, because the anti-slap lawsuit laws isn't really that is more good for the people in West Virginia, because West Virginia has a lot of that lawsuit. But yeah. But what's your take on this whole debacle, Lauren?
Oh man. It's tough. I mean, my take, I feel like it's open and shut. Like I'm very much in favor of Johnny Depp. Yeah, and as it goes forward, her whole persona in court keeps changing. Now she's developing this like just blank stare pre-cry face that she just holds all the time, where she's got like this droopy lip. Like it very much seems like you're watching someone entitled having to waste their time in court to get something they thought they were going to get really easy, kind of thing. Like, so you're just waiting and hoping it goes the right way after way too much time in court. There's another thing I don't like about court stuff is it can just take forever. But yeah, if that was an answer.
Yeah, I want to circle back to a couple of the things we mentioned, because some of them I just really enjoyed. So if people don't know the story of the makeup and how that picks apart the case as well, was that the defense team held up a specific concealer pack and said that she used this concealer the whole time of their marriage to cover up the bruises that he inflicted. And then the company came out and said, no, we did not release that product until after they were divorced. So clearly she did not have that makeup in her purse.
And if they reference it holding that and saying this one.
Yeah, it means that one.
Yeah.
That's the point that they're, yeah, and with the legal system, you do have to be that specific or say like this one if you don't mean it, but that's not what they said. So I really enjoyed that one, just because what I found really interesting about it too was that when they were using that in their statement, talking about, see, she had to become adept at covering the bruises. But what I heard was, oh, you're saying she's adept at using makeup? You mean like she might be really good at making bruises too? Because if you can cover them, you can create them. So I felt like that almost was detracting from their case a little bit by making that statement. It wasn't intentional, but
well, I didn't see the point in even pointing out what specific makeup she used. She could have just said, I used makeup and concealer. They didn't need to pick a brand or be like this one to try to make it more impactful.
That's exactly,
all they did was just
that's exactly, it was
poop the bed.
It was for dramatic effect, and it shot them in the foot a little bit. And so I really kind of enjoyed that moment. I watched a TikTok of somebody who was hand delivering that evidence to his legal team, and so that was really fun to watch, and you can certainly go track that down. But so some of those moments have been really interesting. One that I was just watching before we started, that was, again, them trying to twist things on the defense. It was that same psychologist, and they were saying, well, you went for dinner and drinks at his home before he hired you, didn't you? And she said, no, I went to an interview at his house to be interviewed by his legal team to hire me, and they also served dinner while I was there because it was in his home. And so that they kept saying, yeah, but it was in his home. He was present, right? And you ate dinner together,
They're trying to make two separate events one event.
And alcohol was
just because they were near each other.
It was like they were trying to reframe the events as if it was a social event. Just like, no, it was an interview because they hired me. That's why I'm here now. And yes, there was dinner there because it was a long interview. And of course he would be present. And the team was asking something like, well, why would he need to be there if you're at an interview for his legal team? Well, it's for his defense on his case. So if he doesn't like me, he would get the veto vote. That makes sense. I don't understand what makes it illogical for a client to be present at an interview. So that was a really strange clip to see that they really do grasp at straws. And it seems pretty clear that the main guy just is very uncomfortable. I don't know if he's a new lawyer or is just not really settled in.
He seems a little deer in headlights whenever he's up at the microphone.
Yes, things like objecting to his own question.
That was good. I just saw that like 15
So
minutes
that
ago.
part, is, because I work with a bunch of attorneys. Unfortunately, that part is actually kind of quite common, especially because
Still feels
sometimes
a little like high-fiving yourself, but
it's kind of a thing where you kind of filibuster yourself because you're like you have a lot of cases and you're thinking about it, and then also you try to think at least 2 steps ahead, and then you're like, oh wait, that's mine. So a lot of times, sometimes attorneys can be a little bit absent-minded. So I'm not gonna hold that against an attorney. And based
we'll
on
see.
how
I would go for that if this wasn't such a high profile case that it's the only thing he's probably doing is this case, so he doesn't get a lot of excuse to being cluttered by other things. I believe at the moment
it does. I see both sides. I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
that they are distracted, but at the same time, yeah, if you are on a televised celebrity case and you're that flustered, maybe he's not the person who should be in the lead. I don't know.
and it was his reaction to his objection too, because they said you just asked the question. He was like, oh, so that kind of made it a little.
I made it. And you know what? I do totally get it. It's a tough spot to be in. And it kind of makes me think about I watched some of the dramatized things about the OJ trial and that were talking about the lawyers in the cases. So you do get to see how flustering and stressful it is. So, no shade on that guy. I don't
had cameras and things.
I just feel bad for him is what it is. Like that's such a bad place to be in, that he has to finish this case and then get back out there with the rest of his career after this happened on live TV. That sucks.
what really sucks is I wouldn't say him just because he's only had one filibuster. Most time he's getting made fun of for from his hearsay objection, which he totally can legally, yeah, he can, but still it's fine to see him object hearsay stuff. The other attorney is the one you should feel sorry for, because she is just like lose like all of her interviews. Like she's the one that questioned about the muffins. She's the one that asked about the dinner party. She's the one that held the
assignments. It sounds like.
Yeah, she's also the one that did the whole makeup thing because she was the one holding it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so therefore the person that I feel sorry for is that one, because like based off her line of questioning, she's trying. You can see she's struggling to find something that is able to work, or she's trying to control the situation to where she wants the person to say something to the fact that she wants, but it's not coming out that way. And so she's kind of grasping and trying to figure out what to do here. And like I don't know what type of attorney she is. Maybe what type? I could do that, but I'm not going to, because technically you can also look up the attorney on any bar directory of their state. Look them up, see if they've done anything that is not so nice and ended up on the naughty list with Santa. So yeah, so that's why I feel that, especially an experienced attorney, it's gonna be really tough. I'm pretty sure she knew that she's gonna have an uphill battle, because either it was him or her. I'm guessing her. They kept filing the stuff for Amber Heard's case. It kept on getting dismissed. Basically, almost every single thing that she sent in got dismissed. It's like, no, they're just going, no, go on with the job. So yeah, it's interesting to see an attorney do that. Especially right now, because everybody's saying justice for Johnny. Even the people who are supporting Amber Heard are having a hard time doing that.
Yeah, that's it's strange, because when things were the other way around and everyone was supporting her, I kind of just kept my mouth shut. I was such a big fan of his long before this, back in school and stuff. So I just felt like I couldn't objectively go either way at that time, because you really can't go against somebody who's claiming the things that she was claiming when you don't know anything. So I really wanted to support him from the beginning. I just kind of felt unsafe to do that. So it's really weird now to see it flip-flopping and be one of those people who's like, I've been saying this all along, but whatever. And it sort of feels I'm like, I should be careful not to gloat, maybe, I guess,
Mhm.
is the tone that I get from it. It's just like, okay, well, I'm happy that I wasn't totally off base on my opinion before. That's nice. But it has just been really interesting to watch, especially as a fan. The the world of the media has changed so much from before they were married to after, and a lot of his career. It's funny because he's arguing about her defamation damaging his career, right? And you can really look at his career before and his career after.
And there's proof. I mean, he was
Yeah, that is the
replaced in the
proof.
movie openly.
But also just looking at the way the media formats have changed, that his life prior to her was so mysterious. The internet didn't have information. There weren't that many interviews. He didn't really go on talk shows. He was so private. So, and it was even up until now. But now to hear him talking as much as we have, I feel like that's the most I've ever seen him speaking as himself. Like
Mhm.
in character is one thing, but actually just being himself for this long at once is
And
really
it has
strange.
to be during this court stuff. Yeah, so it's extra
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things he said, one of the things he felt hurt about this whole thing, besides losing a lot of job, because even like right now he has gained a job, and I think there is a possibility of him playing King Richard or something, the third or something like that, something medieval, one of the kings. And it's a movie about that king's life. And Amber Heard has a possibility of getting kicked out of Aquaman, because even though there's been a really long delay on Aquaman 2, the petition has reached its goal, I believe, 2 million signing,
Yep.
saying she needs to be kicked out. Even there was possibility because she didn't have the chemistry with Jason Momoa.
Momoa, yeah.
Thank you. And so there's a possibility of that, but that's the only job that she has. Given the fact that this whole case has given more light to say that Johnny was the victim here, I think he's probably going to get more roles to play, because more of them are coming to his side. He said in court, the biggest hurtful thing that he has had was Disney dropping him, because he felt like he was being guilty. He was guilty before being proven innocent.
Mhm.
And he said that it hurt because he had a vision of what Jack Sparrow was going to be to close him out. And now he doesn't want to do any more pirates because they dropped him and didn't believe him. And to me, I would say Disney needs to do better.
Mhm.
Just because you can't believe whatever someone says something about DB, take it with a grain of salt. Just because there's a million people out there that are telling the truth, and there's a million other people who are also telling a lie. And until you know the whole facts, you can't really make assumptions, because assumptions can lead to a very dangerous path, including you looking like you have egg on your face.
I think I don't really blame Disney, although I do totally get his feelings of feeling betrayed. That makes sense. I think that it's interesting to compare. You know, she's now got this petition to get her out of a movie, and it's kind of the same thing. Flip side, that these companies really get pushed sometimes into the position of having to let people go, whether they really want to or not. It's just publicity and saving the rest of the ship that is the company, so to speak. Which, yes, they made a lot of bad calls. For example, I know that they were still using the character of Jack Sparrow for other purposes after they'd fired him. For example, there was multiple video games with Captain Jack themed things in them. So that part I think is pretty shady for them. Like, if you're gonna end a character, then you should probably not keep pushing the character. But at the same time, I totally get that they kind of didn't have that much choice. Whether they personally believed him or not, they kind of were in the position of, like, if all of our viewers are pushing us to do this, they're gonna there's a consequence for them no matter what.
Yeah.
And they had to pick the,
Well,
you know.
I see it too. Like, are they filming the new movie now? Like, they couldn't have waited till the court was over to
Well,
make the
it was
decision?
years ago. No, this was ages ago. Like when she first made the claims, before it even went into court, they'd already let him go before that even there was proof either way. Because it was Me Too movement time, and actors were really, a lot of them were guilty. So I don't want to say actors were really up against it, because a lot of them were guilty. But it was a lot easier than to just, you know, shout out a claim and get someone fired, bing bang boom, for a while there.
It still is, sadly.
It is, and but I do think at the same time, Hollywood and the industry, as it's known, it has a lot of that ugly stuff going on inside. So yeah, it is pretty low for them to fire someone on speculation, and then we know of all these other horrible things that happen behind the scenes that they don't care about, as long as you don't get caught. So yeah,
Hollywood is a toss-up, just because more the court system is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, when all actuality is the reverse, guilty until proven innocent, because a lot of people jump on that guilty bandwagon before they have all the facts, and before
it's easier to do that.
Yeah, it's easier to do that than the other way. So I also understand, like, yeah, but to me, I think if Disney apologized and also give him, I see a lot of people saying that they should give him free reign on the pirates, just to end it out. I think with time he'll probably forgive, just because I don't think Johnny Depp is a person to hold grudges.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
Yeah, so I think he feels really hurt for right now. And he's probably saying, like, I'm not going back. But I think more than likely he'll probably eventually go back and see if there's a way to end it, just for a clean cut. Or one of the things I kind of want to look forward to, because his classic movies are always really dark. Edward Scissorhands, Sweeney Todd, both of which
Window, all that.
yeah. Oh, I could list so many. Yeah.
I'm really surprised that there is another person that I haven't been brought up, just because I'm pretty sure he is still friends with him, because he's worked with him for so long. Tim Burton.
I'm curious about that. I feel like in a way it makes sense, because it seems like they're focusing on the interactions in Australia an awful lot. So I guess if he wasn't relevant or around for that.
I don't know if Johnny was with Heard when Johnny was around Tim Burton doing movies. I'm not. I remember how long they've been together.
It was just a short marriage, but
yeah. Wrong. For Tim Burton, just because his movies are always well known, both animated and in real life form, just because it gives to character witness, because how he acts on stage, on camera, and how he is a person when treating his crew. Versus Amber, you seen the assistant on deposition, telling how she was on film, how there was no chemistry and stuff like that. It gives to like how the person interacts with people, normally people. That's why I was like, why isn't Tim Burton on this list? Just because he has done a lot of good movies with Johnny, and I'm pretty sure still going to. But then again, I haven't seen a movie by Tim in a really long time. Just because the last one was Cork Bride.
He's not so relevant in the moment too. Yeah.
Well, didn't he work on things like Alice in Wonderland with Disney? Was that not any of his?
I don't know. Give me a second while you guys discuss the case. I'm gonna look this up really quickly to see Alice in Wonderland. It's what.
But yeah, so those are some of the things. I did enjoy watching a couple of the YouTube best of clip videos. I really just think that it's so interesting to see those moments smushed together. Like when he was getting asked, it's obvious that they're trying to use drug use as a way to shadow his character, and he's just owning it completely. He does not care. And so when they were talking about Marilyn
there's nothing
Manson,
he does that seems dishonest.
Right.
When he's answering
yeah.
things.
And so when they're asking about Marilyn Manson, saying, did you do this together? Did you do this together? And he was really trying so hard to hold that laugh in when he said, I once gave Marilyn Manson a pill to get him to stop talking so much. And you could tell he was like, don't laugh in court, don't laugh in court.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good clue into his character, that the emotions are there, they're playing. He's, okay, I'm stifling a laugh. And he even says at one point, in one of the many times he's on the stand, he says, I laugh to cover the pain. I laugh to handle the emotions. That's why I'm laughing. And to even just mention that, I think, that he's being open about, yeah, I know I laughed. Let me, go into that. And I think that shows the honesty too, that he's not
you were right.
Yeah.
He did do Alice in Wonderland, but except for it was only the first one. The second one was done by somebody else.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
I forgot. I was gonna mention on the whole Disney dropping him when the word came out, and then even though everything's shifting now and it is almost becoming perfectly clear that she is the issue, like you're just talking about the petitions and all that, she's not getting dropped. Like she's still finishing her movie, but petitions are good, but they don't always stop things, which is the sad part.
The interesting thing with the movie is just because now the concern is the chemistry between the two actors, because if you don't have good enough chemistry on a movie, it can play out on screen and it looks really awkward and just make the whole movie even worse. I never seen the movie, so therefore I won't know.
Well, that's was what I found so interesting, and I think that maybe that speaks to why they're not firing her. Is maybe they have a very ironclad contract that they need to use her, and they're trying to get it over with, because it's obvious that I did not watch the whole movie. I have issues with the whole Aquaman
1
thing. Like it's just one of my things. I can't.
It was okay. I watched it. I like Momoa, so I like that. But I have plans to not watch the second one because I don't want to support her, and
I watched
seeing her makes me unhappy.
Yeah, and I watched enough clips from him watching it to know that I did not, even though I already didn't like her, I didn't like the performance. And like you said, they don't have chemistry. And knowing that they don't have chemistry, and knowing the story about him ripping the pages out of one of her books because she always had them on set, that I think lends to that they don't have chemistry and can't get along well. And I don't fault him on that at all, because he's, I get it. But
he is like a big child. Yeah. When those things, when I read about him,
totally, like a cuddly bear child. But if they don't have chemistry and they know this, and they're still keeping her on for the second one, and then when they don't have chemistry and they're the leads, it's not going to
make a great product.
It's not going to make a great product. So clearly there's something in it, like, well, we have to use her. So there's
DC doesn't need to be taking risks.
Yeah, they don't.
Well, isn't DC owned by Disney now?
No, they are Marvel. So it's the opposite. It's competing.
So she's with Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman, Green Lantern, and all that stuff.
And I mean, even people, like, there's not enough contract. I'm pretty sure it's in the contract, and I'm pretty sure there is a loophole that they can use, because it's hardly ever where you can find an ironclad contract. Usually there is some type of loophole somewhere in there, even if it's just technicality that you're going based off of. People already has a certain person in mind to replace her with, which I totally agree with, because they worked with each other before, and it was his work wifey in Game of Thrones, Emilia Clarke.
I've seen that, yes.
Yeah, and I think she looks gorgeous if she played the role, and plus she's been, I don't know the whole story of Aquaman because I never paid attention, just because it wasn't one of the superheroes I would actually pay attention to, just because
most people, and Aquaman's not normally high up on the list, but that's a thing too. Momoa makes Aquaman cool, no longer that like just dorky blonde guy kind of thing. He's
that was exactly why
more of a badass kind of thing.
I didn't watch a movie because he seemed cool. All the scenes of just like him seemed cool. But I have a thing about underwater stuff.
The physics
of the way that they're speaking underwater is like a weird pet peeve thing. I went on a rant on it when he was watching it. I said, I can't watch this, and I had to leave. I know it's so dumb. It's a fantasy world. It doesn't need to make sense. It's just not for me. And that's one of the things, switching topics slightly, to Johnny and his movies, why it can be I feel disingenuous sometimes calling myself a fan because I haven't watched a lot of his more recent movies over the last 10 years or so. It wasn't because of this case, though. In high school and early college happened to be around shortly before their marriage, but it was also just a big life phase for me. So it just happens that in the last 10 years we don't really watch that many movies as compared to before, and there's a lot of the themes that he's chosen that just were not up my alley,
Yeah.
just by coincidence. So I still am a fan of his. That was our dog. But I don't really know what he's been up to over the last 10 years, even without this case. I just don't really know. So it would be really interesting to see the trajectory. The only thing of his I've seen of more recent things was another one we've talked about quite a bit, which is Orient Express movie, which I have separate issues with. He was great in it. Probably the only thing I liked about the movie, I'll say that. But it did kind of come off at the time as like the only job he could get. It was a strange choice. So it would be nice to see.
And
either way, whatever the outcome of this case is, I don't see the projector being good for him and bad for her. Just because when you're looking at all the evidence that you put forth, it doesn't take a genius to know which side is like to have a better outcome. And one thing I want to talk about this case is a lot of people, like a couple of weeks ago at the very beginning, people were starting to think that there is a good possibility he could lose due to the case in the UK. The difference is between those two cases that in the UK you have only one judge making the decision, and that judge isn't always easily influenced, versus 6 to 12 people. And this is a jury trial, so this is a trial with normal people like you, me, that are judging this case.
Yeah.
And so based on that information, based on the information that we only have seen and gotten at this point in time, for mostly, I think, majority of the people right now are thinking, yeah, she lied. I believe he should win, possibly. But that's only just based off the information that we were provided in the court today. Nothing on the outside. We can't say the makeup part. We had to exclude that because that has not been brought up yet. More than likely during cross-examination with Amber.
Yeah.
I can't see it going better.
Yeah.
Once she's on the stand, like.
Yeah, it's still unfortunate. We still have to give her. People are more curious of what she's gonna say on the stand versus things getting better, just because they want to see what her reasonings are for these lies and these stipulations, and that's what people are more curious. They're not doubting that she was the one that's being used, just because of all the evidence that was produced and presented and heard. The curiosity is what she's gonna say. And that's what people are curious about, because most people are thinking, yeah, but also because even with evidence, some people can be easily persuaded, but when someone's talking, just because like we do it all the time when someone's saying something to us, even though we know it's wrong, but yet we go that way anyway. So that's where it is. It's where the hint of possibly losing, because there is a possibility that maybe if she's that good of an actor, maybe she can actually play her, which I don't think that's gonna happen, because I never watched her movies, so therefore I never seen her act, so I don't really know how her skill is.
Not to just poop on her, but she felt fairly replaceable in Aquaman.
Very wooden.
Okay, so
I mean,
so that means her mediocre.
Person there in the red wig, you know.
Yeah.
So mediocre.
Yeah.
I'm very, very curious to hear her talking, and a little bit apprehensive, quite honestly, because if what the psychiatrist, whichever one it was, what they said was true, and she really is a borderline personality disorder sufferer, it could be interesting.
Mhm.
I think that for myself, it would be hard to watch. I personally have a family history of various mental illness and have some myself, not that one particularly, but have history with it. So hearing some of the testimony that he's given about the interactions with her from his point of view and also from his childhood, it was honestly kind of triggering, and I had to kind of sometimes take a step back and take the time to process that information and learn about myself a little bit sometimes from memories I haven't thought about in a while. So I'm concerned in a way that if she really is suffering from BPD, if it's not in control, because this is such a high stress thing and we're seeing her facial reactions, it could get wild, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle it. So we'll have to see what happens.
I think they're going to grip to that. They don't really have any other options or much else. They're going to have to just make her find some other way to make her the victim, and that's really like all they've got now. Where she's not a direct victim, but
right, that's what I'm kind of curious
she's no
about.
longer
Is like
on the offensive.
Does it would still count as like a loss though, because even if she did it unintentionally from her illness, it still counts as she did it and therefore is guilty, right? I mean, that's kind of my following of this.
Mhm.
My following is this is because if you haven't noticed, she's been playing mind games with Johnny.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
just because she comes into court the day after the next day of trial, she dresses up like him. And she's trying to play mind games with him. Even though he's not looking towards her, so therefore it's not working. But the question is whether or not they will play on the fact of her mental illness, which I don't think they are, because or else they would have brought it up with all the other experts or witnesses on the stand and try
They're
to play
waiting
it
because
like
it's the only real thing, maybe, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they could use her mental health as an excuse, which like you see in real life, some people do, and sometimes they get away with it because they're blaming the mental health and saying that it's out of their control. Or, which I don't think they're playing that part because they don't have enough information to make that assumption because there's only one doctor that's saying it instead of multiple doctors that are saying the same thing. And so I'm pretty sure that's a losing way to do it just because they don't have enough medical records to say that specifically.
And I feel like she reads as someone who's in denial of anyways. She's the type of person who would have that mental illness and be like, no, I don't. So I don't get the impression that they would want to use that because she would be so heavily in denial.
I get that feeling. I get the feeling that she's the person that even if it was brought to her attention, it'd be like too bad.
For me, my curiosity is she gonna put her foot in her mouth?
Oh, I hope so.
Just because she's done it so many times, especially at the very beginning of this trial. She also made another accusation against Johnny.
A new one?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that got thrown out just because there is no evidence to support that. Especially because she basically said that Johnny kept her locked up for many days, and he was taking 10, 12 ecstasy pills during that time. Like people were like, he would be dead or in a hospital if that was the case. And
you can get better stuff than ecstasy. Get out of here.
Yeah. So it's just more likely the people are more curious on the stand on her than anything else, just because they want to see what she says and also deep dive into her reactions, her facial expression,
yeah,
everything.
that's what I'm waiting for because I feel like she's kind of turned her face off. She was much more facially animated and aware at the beginning. Now, like especially when Johnny's on the stand, it seems like she gets, like I mentioned, this pre-cry face, like she's holding back tears, and it just stays that way for like an hour, and she's just staring at him like almost to try to like get sympathy out of him and stop what he's saying, that kind of thing. But that's what it seems like. But that's what it seemed more of.
To me, that almost reads like total disassociation face. Basically, like she's thinking her own thing. You can tell when she occasionally writes, like she's already thinking about something else, and the face is just turned off. It's like no one's at the computer monitor. It's just that's her natural frown face. I've known some people with that kind of naturally frown face because
Well, I've
when you
never seen
frown
her
that
do that,
often-
like that drip lip thing before. That seems totally new. Where she's got like this
yes.
kind of stare and that, like I said, that pre-cry, and then the lip kind of droops down on the left side of her
That's
face.
more of the authentic face. I think that's more of what her real normal expression is because the
Yeah,
other
it's
one
hard to
is so
say.
like practiced and like I'm putting on my smile now, but but fake. But that to me, and maybe it's again, I've known some depressed people, and that tends to be what your
Mhm.
face looks like. So maybe not. I don't know. Whether it's fake or not, it's not helping her any.
No.
So
Well, like I said, it's just for like people are not depicting Johnny for when he was on the stand, his body movements or anything like that. Just because more than less, it would probably be very boring because he was very genuine and he was just cracking jokes and everything.
Mm.
Her on the stand, like in her deposition video, she was
Mm.
eating
oh,
and doing
That
all this
eating
stuff.
drove me nuts. I can't believe we let her do that. To
Yeah,
watch them
and-
ask her a question and her shove food in her mouth and put up her finger to wait. I'm like, really? This is happening in court? Like,
Yeah. So
Sorry.
she's also like, it's the question is whether I'm pretty sure Johnny's Depp team is gonna go for the juggler, and just because more than likely because she's gonna have a lot of inconsistency because she can't seem to keep her story straight, and that is one of the biggest details of everything, that her story is always changing. And so speaking before about the ACLU, which is kind of interesting why they still have her on there as an ambassador. Some people think it's because she doesn't care who she offends. Gender discrimination against both genders. She abused both of them. She doesn't care. She'll hit it. She'll just do it to both genders. Anyone that she's in a relationship with, because of her previous relationship was with a woman, and that had
well, that's the thing that I found interesting back in the day. She has since dated both men and women, so okay, fine, don't have a preference. But at the time, because I didn't know who she was, she had been with a woman, then she was with Johnny, and then I believe after him another woman. So at the time, I was really reading that as sounds like a money grab. Sounds like someone who maybe wasn't even that into him and was said big star, get in, get your money, get out. That's kind of what I thought was happening when they first got married, and so that's sort of what it looks like. Maybe I was right. Maybe this was her very ineffective play to end up with the money.
It was a money grab.
Yeah.
Just because there was a delay on the prenup signing. The thing that caused the fight for a very long time in their marriage was the postnup. A prenup and a postnup are the exact same thing, except for one's done before your marriage, and the other one's done after. Either way, it is a legal contract. She would not sign that. And the other thing that came out of play was that she was not in Johnny Depp's will.
Oh,
I didn't hear that.
Good.
That's great.
Yeah, so therefore there was also that argument part too. So, and also they tried, like, it just was like, it was a totally mind grab. That part's for sure, because another part that points that is the fact that she never paid to two charities. She either has someone else try to pay for her or does something, or not pay at all.
And
Because-
what kind of narcissistic manipulation is that to get other people to donate to a charity for you that you were supposed to do? Like, that is some manipulative S word right there.
Yeah, just because it's just you can tell that it's a money grab, but somehow unfortunately this has probably hurt her ego even more, because during the trial they asked the jury to ask if they know who these people are. Most people didn't know Amber. They knew Johnny and his movies, but not of Amber.
I know of Amber because of this trial.
Yeah.
I watched
I think most-
Aquaman. I still wouldn't know who she was if
Yeah.
all I had watched was Aquaman.
Yeah. So it's kind of probably, she probably doesn't believe that it's hurting her ego, but it pretty much is. Like I said, it's more a lot of evidence points that she was a money grabbing person.
Kind of jumping topic slightly, about his generosity, because it seems like multiple times her lawyers will say, they are trying to use this angle that, oh, well, he pays you, so you have to be nice about him, right? And every single time the person is like very upfront saying, no, he goes above and beyond for me. I don't owe him anything, but he's very generous. And so they keep trying to sell it as you're in his pocket. And instead it just comes across as, wow, what a nice guy. One of the interviewers, they said, oh, well, he's given you gifts upwards of this many $1,000. And the guy said, oh yeah, probably a lot more than that. And Johnny chuckled like it doesn't make him look bad to show that he's gives.
Every time they bring something out to make him look bad, they make him look good.
Right.
And make her look bad. Everything that's supposed to make her look good makes her look bad. Like none of this is leaned in her way. None of it. Like,
yeah. And we had talked about earlier too about how another element of that is that when he was talking about everything happening with Disney, he wasn't upset about the money. He was upset about the character and how that goes towards his personal character, that he was upset about the betrayal and the loss of the character that he created, not, and I'm trying not to throw shade here, but just referencing, not a la Scarlett Johansson's thing with Disney, which was about money lost. He didn't complain about the money when they talked to him. It was about the character. So obviously, and the fact that just in this whole case, he's the one that would lose out. If she's marrying him for his money or not, he's the one who stands to lose, not her. So it's not like he gains anything either way, really. It's just trying to prevent losses.
Yeah. I think to be honest, I think this is going the way he wanted to clear his main goal for this trial, for this case, was to clear his name. And to me, it has done that job. That his name is practically pretty much cleared, because they know every single detail, every single evidence that has been shown that he was, even though he has yelled, texted some really bad things to Amber, but it was only a reaction to her.
Yes, exactly.
After being provoked so much.
Yeah.
And after being provoked so much, he always was trying to either de-escalate by leaving or hit something, another object that isn't her.
Right. Yeah,
and go ahead.
I was just saying, like, not to call either of us out, but we've had that conversation too. Like, we're married, so we've had fights. There's been times, we fight. There's been loud yelling. That happens. It's normal. Who doesn't have a house with a dent in it from somebody punching it at some point? Like, most everybody I know, every friend has that, oh, well, we never got around to fixing it dent from somebody punching a wall. Like, it's not great. It's not the best thing to do, but absolutely, just like he did, you're expressing the rage, avoiding a person, as Johnny Depp did in the, destroying a kitchen. Because honestly, in my mind, it's, if I rented this house as he did, then I'm paying for it. I'm paying for the damages. If I want to break it, it might be rude, but I'm paying for it, so that makes sense, And there are multiple clips of him saying, "I'm leaving. We need to stop this," and that really puts the point of him being the victim, is because so many times of him saying
he was always the fixer.
He was always saying, "We can't do this. We need to stop this. I need to leave," or the testimony of his sister saying that in his previous 10 plus whatever year relationship with Vanessa Paradis, she never once, as his manager, had to book any extra rooms for him. But when Johnny was with Amber, his sister manager would book an extra empty hotel room for him to escape to when he needed to run away from her. And she said he never asked for that, but she saw a need and did that, and it was used. So again, that's him trying to de-escalate by separating himself, having another place to go to and run away. That's not what Amber's doing. So clearly, if
you don't usually start the fire and then try to put it out.
Right, an aggressor who's
Right now, there is now a bunch of nicknames for her. Amber Turd, Amber.
I just got that one because of the testimony with the bed and the fecal matter, and I just got it.
Yeah. So there is maybe fun of her. There is mockery of how her team is doing, and there's even a TikTok about a video where they were saying, like, asking, playing Amber Heard, and her manager is like, "Where did you find my attorneys?" Like on Wish. Because they aren't doing a very good job. But then again, I'm pretty sure they know that this was going to be a tough case based off because both parties have to give each other wherever they submit to the court.
And
So the more than likely they probably saw, given the how they are trying to do things, I'm pretty sure they knew that this was an uphill battle.
Mhm.
And plus there was no way for them to get out of this.
Mhm.
So like they knew they're doing their job to do the best of the ability, even though they kind of have two things tied behind the backs because it's just not going their way.
Yeah, and it's not the lawyer's fault they're struggling. It's the fact that they've been given this dump pile and nobody else wants to take it, and they're sort of put in the position of, well, I guess it's a paycheck.
Just getting a couple of lawyers that drew the short straws.
Yes, they drew the short straw. It's not their fault.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen attorneys throughout the media who are probably decent attorney at some point in time. They just picked up the wrong choice, and it practically destroyed their career.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just gonna be. It's just we're at this point. I think we're all really curious about what Amber's gonna say instead of her witnesses, because the witnesses are on her list are probably not gonna do any better.
Make popcorn when you go to watch that. I feel like
it's probably gonna be some hearsay, a lot of hearsay in there from her side. So that's gonna be funny to see. So it's gonna be very interesting to see the second half of this trial going forward. So let's see, I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we need to cover in regards to this case? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give people, let's get final thoughts, just because right now we're at the midway point of the whole case. So for me, my final thoughts are this is more than likely gonna be a win for Johnny. Because if I am a juror and I cannot get into any of the videos that have been on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, or any social media, I cannot research anything, and I can only focus on the things that were given, the facts that are given. Then my mind would automatically be sympathizing with Johnny, because all the evidence that has been put forth before me is telling me a different story than what the other person's story. So my thought process is probably half of them have already made up their mind, and the other half are either on the line or more than likely towards Johnny. I think what is gonna happen is they're gonna pull in Amber Heard's team, gonna pull in their witnesses, because their witness list is just as long as his. But the hair witnesses are more hearsay stuff, where they heard or what happened, how they knew what happened was only due to what Amber has told them, which is hearsay. So I think it's gonna be a turd press for Amber and her team of witnesses, just because so far Johnny's team has been spectacular in defending him. So the question is how they're gonna deal with her witnesses. It's gonna be interesting because and I think, like I said, I think the jury's gonna put it in Johnny's favor. The question whether or not she's gonna be able to pay for it is another thing, because he just got back the money that he just paid her in her divorce settlement.
Well, yeah, that's another.
Well, she's got that donation money we were talking about, right?
Yeah, but if she's
that's a future lawsuit, so that they can take her to court to get the money that she will owe them after the fact.
Yeah.
Shall I do my final thoughts then?
Yeah, because I don't know if I have much aside from I'm assuming and hoping that it leans in his favor, because I mean it feels so open and shut at this point, at the halfway mark. Like, but yeah, I'm just watching and waiting now. I mean, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
What's the next TikTok tomorrow?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So final thoughts would be, I'm more optimistic than I was last time we talked about it. That's for sure. I think it's a great sign that he's been able to get the jury to laugh with him on multiple occasions, considering that, like you said, they don't have outside information. I think that's a good sign. I'm really going to hold out judgment until I've at least seen her speak once. Until then, I still think he's going to win. I'm really hoping, but I think just that one, I have that natural instinct that tells me don't get your hopes up, because that's the kind of person I am. I don't want to get my hopes up, but I do. They are up. They're up. I hope he wins. And that's probably it. Yeah, I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, I'm very much not wanting to get my hopes up too, because I'm not a person that assumes any life is going to go the way I want it or hope it's going to. So just sit back and watch, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I agree with you both that I don't want to get my hopes up, and I'm hoping the people who are in the jury see that he should win. And remember, jury can adjust the amount of how much the lawsuit is for.
That's true.
So they can also change the amount of the winning.
That would be very interesting. I was going to say, I remembered my last final thing was, because you mentioned a lot of her side is going to end up being possibly hearsay, that there were so many clips of Johnny on the stand saying, I'm learning, I'm going to stop doing the hearsay, because that's just something you have to learn which things to say. So that is what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to being able to compare and contrast, one of my favorite activities, their reactions to those types of questions, because we've now got his reactions of laughing it off and apologizing and, I'm learning, stuff like that. So to see what her reaction is when she gets called out on hearsay, that's what I'm really kind of, I think, hedging my bets on, is just seeing that. It will be my favorite part, I think, going forward. And I hope that we will have the ability at the end to kind of do that compare and contrast of, like, when they're asked the same question, let's see how it goes. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm a big fan of lists and comparing stuff. So I really want to get to the stage of comparing their statements, because I haven't gotten to do that yet. I've heard a lot of his, even before the case started, because I was his fan and just didn't really like her. I just never did. I don't have any input from that side. So the curiosity is there. What's the saying? Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. So I'm waiting and hoping to be satisfied in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, in 3 weeks, we'll probably come back we'll probably do another video. It'll be part 3 of the Johnny Depp case. Just get everybody's final thoughts on that when it all ends. So if you like our conversation that we had for tonight, please feel free to hit that like button. Otherwise, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this episode of 88 Chats. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
No. Bark. No.